I'm in my favorite country of the world. And in this video, I will share how to survive winter camping in Iceland.
Even in deepest winter.
And with a tiny drop of adventure in your blood, the best way to get around on this amazing place on Earth is in a car. Or better, a camper van. I'm not gonna lie, it can be quite brutal. But hey, waking up to such view makes it absolutely worth it. You can enjoy your trip to Iceland to the fullest. I'm going to share with you the hottest tips for winter camping in Iceland, which I researched before my trip or learned the hard way. The tips range from driving in the snow desert to sleeping during frosty nights or merely surviving. Well, this sounds a bit over dramatic. It's really not that bad, but come and see for yourself. When you decide to do a road trip in Iceland in winter, you want to make sure that you have the proper car under your butt so that gets you around the island safely. You don't need to have an all-wheel 4x4 car in order to get around to all these spectacular places, but you want to make sure that your car has proper winter tires on. And actually this one has these. You're allowed to have You're allowed to have spikes in your tires that give you more grip. They kind of destroy the roads, but they give you more grip on the road in icy and snowy conditions. So make sure that the winter tires are proper and the car is in good conditions. And then, you know, you just get around in this wonderful, beautiful, and super windy place.
That without my love for the ocean, I will be no.
With your doors. This is the #1 cause of damage to your cars in winter because of the strong wind. One thing I was concerned about when I was traveling to Iceland for the first time was ending up with an empty fuel tank somewhere in the middle of the island. But seriously, don't worry. There are plenty of petrol stations all around the island that are open 24/7, as you can easily pay with your credit card right at the pump. The one thing you should be aware of are the fuel prices. On average, they are almost twice as high as on mainland Europe and 3 times higher than in the US. But it's absolutely worth it. Knowing about the road conditions is absolutely paramount. I always recommend checking out 2 websites. That's road.is and vidur.is. Road.is is quite straightforward. It shows you the road conditions, if there's ice, snow, wind, etc. on the road. It also has webcams to all the different spots across Iceland. Vidur.is is a website and also an app that informs you about the weather conditions. Let's talk about parking. So when you have a camper van in Iceland, they have designated areas, pretty much called campgrounds. There's an enormous amount of campgrounds around Iceland, so you should never have an issue finding one. However, in winter they can be closed. If you find a closed campground in winter, usually it's okay to stay there. That's what I'm gonna do tonight, because here in Höfen the campground is closed and there's no other campground in the region, so I stay at this one. Alright, one quick tip: don't leave your lights on when you park your car and just go away for a few hours, because otherwise you got a jump start. At least you have a beautiful scenery here in Iceland. If you ever get, like lost on the track.
Woo! Okay, let me give you a little guide.
All right, we're good. We're good. Woohoo!
High five!
Yeah!
Give her a high
High five! Yeah!
Without my love
Yeah!
for the ocean, I will be no one.
The key to survive Iceland in winter is wearing the proper clothes to avoid hypothermia. Clearly I've missed that memo and still wear my clothes from Mauritius. But the secret really is to wear layers. Alright, now I'm good to go.
Right, don't judge my eating habits on this trip, or at any time for that matter. But when it comes to food, the best thing you can do while camping in Iceland is really prepare the meals yourself, because, well, see for yourself. Okay, I'm at a Domino's here, and just to give you an idea of the pricing, it's about $18 for a normal pizza margarita, which in the US would potentially cost $5. Oh, and get some Icelandic candy. But what's really crucial for my survival is having enough energy to charge all my batteries. For phones it's quite straightforward because you can just plug it in the USB port of your radio. But when it comes to my camera batteries and laptop, I would recommend getting one of these inverters that you can easily plug into the 12-volt outlet in your car and then plug in all your chargers. Alternatively, you can get a high-capacity battery pack that allows you to stay completely off the grid, especially if you get one of these solar panels with it. But remember, the days are short in winter Iceland. Let's talk about safety. There's a couple of things I wanted to share with you before you go on your trip to Iceland. First of all, share your location and your plans with someone. So in the case of an accident, which hopefully won't happen, that someone knows where you're at and what you're up to. Either through Google Maps location sharing, or for example, my car has a GPS tracker, and Happy Campers actually shared a link with me that I can share with my family and friends, so they always know where I'm at. Second, get a SIM card so you can always be in touch with either 112, the emergency number, or with your rented car services, etc. So that's super helpful as well. Third, don't ignore the warning signs. There is a reason why they were put up, and I've seen many people just blandly just ignoring them and going behind barriers. Last but not least, use your common sense. You know, that's this tiny voice in the back of your head that's telling you, don't do it. This is dangerous or irresponsible. Alright, this is it for the safety announcement. Thanks so much for listening and have a great flight. Alright, let's talk about sleep, because after a long day of driving around and exploring the treasures of this beautiful island, you want to make sure that you're all rested for the next day. I tell you something, it wasn't that bad. I was expecting much worse. The key to a restful night under these conditions is obviously staying warm, and you can achieve that in two ways. Through layers of sleeping bags and blankets, and through a heater, all the combination of both. The main key sleeping utensil is this sleeping bag, which I just throw in and tuck myself into every night, pretty much. And then, yeah, 2 pillows, that's it. Second, the heating system. So before you go to bed, about an hour before, you want to actually start the engine and use the heater in your driver cabin to warm up the entire car. Some of the camper vans actually have a heating system that you can keep on during the night, but it's not absolutely necessary.
And then grab a sleeping mask. Not that important, to be frank, in winter because the nights are very long and the days are short, so the sun usually rises at around 9 or so. Don't forget to have a bottle of pure Icelandic water, that's actually what it's called, close to you, so in case it's getting really cold, keep it close to your body so it doesn't freeze you. So, cheers.
Saw you glance your everlasting light. Met your eyes, razor sharp, cutting through the crowd.
To wrap up this video and journey across Iceland, I want to end with a conclusion: expectations versus reality style. And in fact, I was planning on shooting this segment in Iceland on my last day. However, there was a massive blizzard crossing the country and I really had to make my way to the airport. So let's just do it from home.
We're in a strange delight. Come with me and you will see. We are bound to be strangers in the night.
Let's start with the landscapes, which is definitely my favorite part of Iceland by far. And I expected it to be quite different from what I saw like 4 years ago in summer. You know, like much wider obviously and more abstract. And throughout the video we've seen just that, but even more, because thanks to the crazy weather swings, we have a vastly different site at the same location within 1 hour, because it's varying from hail to snowstorm to beautiful sunshine and beautiful clouds, back to hail and snowstorm. It's just beautiful, it's just beautiful. This is actually a perfect segue to the next point, which is the weather. My expectation was that it's gonna be brutally cold and I'm gonna freeze, especially living in a camper van. That was not an issue at all. It was never really cold. But what really caught me by surprise, although I read about it and I completely underestimated it, was the wind. And I didn't expect wind gusts of 160 kilometers per hour. And bear in mind, I live in Chicago, the windy city. Ow, it hurts! So get mentally prepared for the wind when you travel to Iceland in winter. Or at any point for that matter. Lastly, I frankly expected less tourists during the brutal winter months. But reality is, Iceland is so popular no matter what season. But the beauty is, the further you get away from Reykjavik, which is the capital, the less tourists you have and the more you are on your own in this majestic, otherworldly landscape, and it turns truly into an adventure. And with that, thanks so much for watching and have a wonderful trip to Iceland. You will have a blast.